In today's video, we're going to talk about section 5-5, completing the square. We use completing the square because sometimes we are not able to factor when solving quadratics, so we need a method to find these not exact answers. So, to complete the square for any quadratic expression of the form x squared plus bx, follow the steps below. Now, I'll walk you through these steps with specific problems, but it's nice to have these written out for you. Step 1, find 1/2 of b, the coefficient of x. So whatever x has in front of it, divide it by 2, and that moves on to step 2, square that result. So whatever it is, multiply by itself. And then add the result to of the step to x, of step 2 to x squared plus bx. So, but keep in mind we're talking about equations, so if you add something on one side, you need to be ensure to add it to the other side. So we're going to do that here. So solve x squared plus 8x minus 20 equals 0 by completing the square. So notice that in the last problems, we had just x squared plus bx. So that c value is not there. So we need to get rid of it. So we are going to add 20 to both sides. So we're going to get it out of the way. So now we have x squared plus 8x, and I'm going to leave a gap because we're going to need that space, is equal to 20. So now, as I said, take that b term. So b is equal to 8, and we're going to divide it by 2. So b over 2 is equal to 4. And then from there, you square it. So we get b over 2 squared is actually equal to 16. And then we take that and we add it to our situation, to our problem. So we have plus 16, but what you do to one side, you do to the other. Okay, so notice we added this. We added that 16 to both sides. And so now, well, keep in mind this 16 right here is actually just that number right there. So really, instead of the 16 on the left side, I'm going to rewrite it as 4 squared. Because the reason I'm doing that is because the left side of the equation just factors simply into x plus 4 because squared, excuse me, because of what we're doing is we're completing the square. We're making a perfect square trinomial. So I have x plus 4 quantity squared is equal to 20 plus 16 is just 36. So now I can do simple arithmetic or algebra to solve. So first I got to get rid of this square root on both sides. Oh, now we're back to our situation. We introduced a square root, so that means I need a plus minus. So I have plus minus square root of 36 is just 6. And now I solve for x, subtract 4. So I have x equals, now I have two situations. I don't know why it does that for me sometimes. It's really weird. I have negative 4 plus 6, and I have negative 4 minus 6. That's what that plus minus means. So negative 4 plus 6 would be 2, and negative 4 minus 6 would be negative 10. So my answers are x equals 2 or negative 10. So those are my two answers. There we go. So solve 2x squared minus 5x plus 3 is equal to 0. So in this case, now keep in mind, we still want to get rid of that 3. So we're going to subtract that 3. So we have 2x squared minus 5x, and I'm going to leave that space, is equal to negative 3. Now, keep in mind, those rules that you were shown at the beginning, they start with x squared as normal. So what we need to do is divide everything by 2, because we need to have that x squared by itself. So we have x squared minus 5 over 2x equals negative 3 over 2. So now, we're going right back to where we were. That 5 over 2. 5 over 2 divided by 2, that becomes 5 over 4, and then I'm going to square that. So I get 25 over 16. So I'm going to add that to both sides. 25 over 16. But then, remember, I'm going to put the 5 over 4 quantity squared into this blank, because that way I know what I'm factoring into. So I don't even have to do that extra thinking stuff. Okay, make our lives easier. Okay, so now the left side, that factors into simply x minus, and now it's minus because we have a minus 5 over 2, 5 over 4 quantity squared is equal to now negative 3 halves plus 25. So I need a common denominator really quick. So I get negative 24 over 16, because, multiply by 8 on both sides. So that's just 1 over 16. Well, that was easy. So now, keep going. Now it's just simple arithmetic or algebra. Take the square root on both sides. Introduce a square root. You need to include, that's right, plus minus. Square root of 1/16 is just 1/4. So now we're going to add 5/4 to both sides. So now we have 5/4 plus 1/4, and we have 5/4 minus 1/4. So that gives us 6 over 4, which is 3 over 2, or we have 4 over 4, which is just 1. So my answers are x equals 3 over 2 or 1. And there you have it. I know it seems like a long process, but it does come with overtime. So we're going to do one more example for you. So I have x squared plus 4x minus plus 11 equals 0. So nothing's going to change. Subtract that 11. So we have x squared plus 4x is equal to negative 11. So take that middle term, divide it by 2, gives us 2, and then we want to square it. And that square is just gives us 4. So I'm going to add 4 to the right side, and then I'm going to just add 2 squared to the other side. So that, remember, that way I know it factors into x plus that quantity of that number 2. So x plus 2 quantity squared is equal to, on the right side, negative 7. So take the square root on both sides. So I get x plus 2 is equal, well, whole up square root of a negative, that can be it. I introduce the square root, plus minus. Now I have that I out front, because I negative, and then the square root of 7. And then solving for x, subtract 2. So in this case, I have x equals negative 2 plus minus I squared of 7. Now there is literally nothing I can do in this situation, so I am done. When you have that radical still sitting there and that I in there, you can't combine like terms, so you are done.